Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Mahaska County Supervisor Forum. This forum is hosted by Oswego News and the New Sharon Sun. We would like to thank all of our candidates for agreeing to participate this evening, and of course, we would like to thank Penn Central Mall for allowing us the use of this facility again this evening. Joining us this evening are four candidates for Mahaska County Supervisor. They are Paul DeGeest, Scott Van Veldhuizen, Steve Wanders, and Steve Parker. Our moderators this evening are Dr. Bob Leonard of KNIA KRLS Radio, and also we have Diana Dolly, who is a Powashik County Supervisor, and she previously served as the Powashik County Auditor for many years. We have developed a list of questions that have not been shared with the candidates ahead of time, and we will also be taking questions from the audience this evening, so we will have Ken also on this side with Oski News. If you have a question, tap him on the shoulder and we will give you an opportunity to ask that question. Our moderators also will be controlling the way we do our forum tonight. If they do not feel that a candidate is adequately answering the question, they are reserved the right to rein in the discussion. My name is Charlie Comfort. I am the regional editor of the Sigourney News Review. Our sister paper is the New Sharon Sun, and it's my honor to be here this evening with Ken of Oski News. We'll go ahead and turn it over to our moderators now for the questions.
Thank you, Charlie. I think we'll start out by asking each candidate to tell us a little about yourselves and why you want to run for county supervisor. And we'll start on the left with Mr. DeGeest.
Thank you. My name is Paul DeGeest. I'm a lifelong resident of Mahaska County. I got into law enforcement in Mahaska County in 1977. Spent 39 years in law enforcement, retired approximately a year and a half ago. After I got out of county office, I really did miss the people. I missed what was going on, and I decided that I would take a run for supervisor. In doing so, I've got to understand a lot of the problems that we're having, and I really truly think with my background that I can actually do some good for Mahaska County and moving it forward and making good decisions.
Good evening. My name is Scott Van Veldhuizen. Again, like Paul, I'm a lifelong resident of Mahaska County. Grew up north of Oskaloosa. Been here my entire life except for the 4 years I went to Iowa State University. I graduated there with an Ag Business Management degree. I have a family. I'm married to my wife, Sandy. I have 4 sons and a daughter. Lost one of those sons tragically a couple of years ago. That's been tough. But we moved forward through that. Thanks to a lot of support from the county and our friends and family. We've been able to move through that. My oldest son, my wife, Sandy, she homeschools our kids until they go to high school. Now she's actually working with the homeschool program at the school here in Oskaloosa. She stays busy doing that and then just getting kids activities. My oldest son, Nate, went to William Penn University. He graduated from Oskaloosa High School first, went to William Penn University for 3 years. He played football there. He studied mechanical engineering. He's in a 3-2 program. He's now on to Iowa State University to finish that degree. My son, Blake, graduated from Oskaloosa. He started his first year this fall at Iowa Western in Council Bluffs. He's playing football there and studying agriculture. My next son, Noah, is a junior in high school, active in lots of activities, student council, sports, you name it. He's busy all the time, takes his studies serious. Has a good time. And my daughter, Lydia, she's a 7th grader. She's involved in music, sports, and just learned how to be a teenager and drive her mom and dad nuts. So that's my family. My work experience after I graduated from Iowa State, I went back to the farm, family farm. I also started selling Pioneer seed for about 3 years in 1996. Did that until 1999. Then I took a job at Ajinomoto in Eddyville. They make amino acids. I started there on shift work. I moved up through the company, finished up in management my last several years. In 2007, when I left that position to go back to the farm, my family was growing. Farming was taking off at that time, and wanted to spend more time at home, and so that's why that happened. Some volunteer things I've been working with. I've coached kids for years. My kids, like I said, involved in activities, so I started doing that at a young age. Currently, I volunteer with the varsity baseball team in Oskaloosa and the football team. I was involved with the Booster Club several years ago when it restarted again. Curtis Fry kind of got it started. I jumped in not long before that. We were in the beginning stages. It was tough. But we really grew that, and it's going gangbusters today, doing really good things for our community and our schools. Also involved with my church, Federated Fellowship Church. I'm on the board there, and again, just excited to be able to help out there with an emphasis on missions. The reason I want to be a supervisor is similar to how I got started in those volunteer things. My kids were involved in something. I saw that there was a need. I thought I could help out. I thought I had some skills I could help out. I want to step in and make a difference. It's the same thing with the county. I think there's some needs. I think I have a perspective that's a little different than a couple of other candidates. And I think there's some people looking for a different perspective. I have roots on the farm and the rural community. I've been involved in business too, so I see that side. I've been involved with the schools. People were telling me that they wanted something different. I was going to run in the primary this spring. I had a health issue came up. I found out I had colon cancer. I didn't know how it was going to turn out. Fortunately, the grace of God brought me through that. Everything is fine. Had surgery, it's been removed. I have no lingering effects. Of course, I have continued appointments, but it's not going to affect me going forward. God only knows what can happen to any of us, but it's not an issue anymore. Mark Dolan resigned this summer. There's an application process for that position. I did apply for that position, interviewed for it, prepared hard for it. I was told I did very well in the interview. Those selecting the person who selected Steve. Steve Wanders, excuse me, he had the most votes in the primary. They decided to go that way. After that, I thought I could step away. Maybe it wasn't too me, but I had a lot of encouragement from people that, hey, you need to stay with it. I think you offer something different than some of the other candidates. We'd like to see you continue. So I began that process of collecting signatures. It went really well. I gained the signatures. My name is on the ballot now. There's been some question, do we have to write in your name? How's all this going to work? My name's on the ballot. It's a long name. You don't have to know how to say it, but it'll be on there. Thank you.
That's all.
No.
Hello? Okay, there we go. My name is Steve Parker. I'm one of the Republican candidates for supervisor in the fall. I grew up on a farm, born and raised up southwest Mahaska County. Lived there for 64 years. I've been married almost 44 years. My wife and I have 3 kids, 2 daughters and a son. The daughters, one's by Chicago and one's in Knoxville. And my son's a teacher at Twin Cedars and lives in Oskaloosa. I've been a member of the Unity Church my whole life. We have 7 generations going to our church. And my nephew, my grandson, is the 7th generation. I've been on the Twin Cedars School Board for, I think it was 16 years. I've been the Farm Bureau member since '74. I was past president and voting delegate for 3 years each. That's basically my history. And the reason I'm running for supervisor, I was asked to by several people over the years to run. And this was the year that seemed like it'd be the right time to go. At my age, getting older, I don't think I'd want to run. So I decided to go ahead and put my hat in the ring, and that's where we're at.
I'm Steve Wanders. I live 6 miles west of Oskaloosa. I have a family farming operation with my dad and my kids and my wife. I'm married. We got 2 daughters. One of them is a corporate hog farmer, and the other one's going to William Penn. So One reason I'm running for supervisor is because I'm very passionate about secondary roads and the issues we are having with secondary roads. If we're going to keep a farming operation going out here in the rural, we need good secondary roads. And that's the main reason I run for supervisor. Since I filled Mark Dolan's spot after he stepped down, I've learned a lot of other stuff, and there's a lot more issues than I even realized, which everybody will find that out once you start in the supervisor's deal. Like mental health is going to be a big deal coming down, and there's other issues going on in the county that's going to have to be straightened out. But the main reason I'm running is for secondary roads. Thank you.
Okay, we'll start with the submitted questions now. This will be for all candidates. As a supervisor, who do you believe you serve? And we'll start with Bob.
I think that's an easy question.
No.
Yeah, Mike.
Hey, Scott, we didn't hear the question.
Your mic's not on.
Mics aren't working.
No, the mics are working fine. They just need to.
Okay.
They just need to leave them
It's
on.
on now. I'll go ahead and repeat the question. This is the first submitted question. As a supervisor, who do you believe you serve?
Am I on? Okay. I serve in simple the residents of Mahaska County. There's 22,000 and some odd residents in Mahaska County. It involves unincorporated areas. It involves incorporated areas. We have the town of Oskaloosa. We have New Sharon, Barnes City, Keoma Village, Fremont, Eddyville, Lighton, University Park, Beacon. There's 10 of them. I'm not sure if I missed one or not. I think I got most of them, but they're all important. They're all important to the county. It's my job to serve the residents. It's not my agenda. It's not what I want done. I found out through experience of being on boards in the past, it's not about me. It's about what's best for the county. It's about what's best for the people that you're serving. So I have to listen to what everyone says, and that's an important thing. You have to listen. You have to talk to people. You have to network. You have to hear what they're saying. And then at some point, yes, we have to make decisions. We have to weigh everything that everyone says, and then make the best decision that's going to be the best for our county as a whole.
Well, I believe the county supervisor is the representative of the people of the whole county. But the people in the rural area, that's their only people that have to speak for them. The city has city councilmen, mayors, and stuff like that. So I feel the supervisor has to stick up for the county residents.
You represent everybody in Mahaska County, but I'm a little bit like Steve Parker. The citizens of Oskaloosa have their city council, and I don't really think we need to be battling each other on different deals. They have their responsibilities, the supervisors have their responsibilities, all the little towns have their responsibilities. Now when it comes to a major project or something, you're going to work together. But I don't know. They always told me good fences make good neighbors, and that's the way I feel about it. And I guess that's all I got to say.
I tend to agree with pretty much everything you said. I'd like to add a couple of things. One is that the cities also, the people who reside in the cities, in the incorporated cities around Mahaska County also pay taxes to Mahaska County. They do expect some services from us, law enforcement being one of them, fire being another. Some of them have their own fire departments, some of them don't. There's several issues that the cities and the county can work together on. And agreed, I understand that each incorporated city has their own city council. The county supervisors, their main goal is to take care of the citizens of the county, and that includes everyone that lives in that county, whether you live in an incorporated city or not. And again, like I said, if they work together, there's a lot of issues that they can come together and get worked out and really move the entire county forward, and that's what I want to see happen.
Thank you, everybody.
One of the things that I want to stress is that we'd really much appreciate it if keep your answers short, to the point, and we can cover more. One of the things, there's several issues that Diana and I talked about that we want to make sure comes up, and one of the ones that I want to make sure is addressed tonight is I look outside at Mahaska County from Marion County where I work. I see several issues that I know people want to get to tonight, and we're going to let the audience get to some of them. But what I want to start with is the radio system for our first responders. I was speaking with a person today that was, let's just say, is a first responder, and says that there's serious problems with the radio system. That it's a radio system from the 1980s, something that needs to be done, and that not only are first responders' lives put on the line every day, but that the citizens' lives are put on the line every day. If our first responders can't communicate, lives are at risk, the general populace as well as the first responders. And it seems that something needs to be done. What do you propose to do? How would you solve the problem? Do you have any ideas? What's the timetable? What do you know about it? Do you even think it's a problem? And we'll begin with Steve Parker.
Well, it's definitely a problem. I think everybody agrees that we need something done because it's an outdated system. My biggest problem is the cost of it. I've heard from $2.5 million to $8.5 million. So it's somewhere, it's a pretty big spread. If you can get by the $2.5 million and have the same service you get with the $8.5 million, why wouldn't you go for $2.5 million? There's a problem with, it's in the course right now, is my understanding, about the E911 board joining with the other booking board right now, excuse me. But, and there's, as far as I know, still in the court system, that's straightened out. Maybe they can get doing something. But it's got to be done before long, I would think.
We definitely need a new radio system. We sent out an RFP and we got one bid back. As a supervisor, it's hard for me to pick a radio system with one bid. I don't understand why they only got one bid back. To me, we need 2 or 3 bids out there. We need to hash them over and get the best system we can for the citizens at a fair price. And with one bid, it's hard for me to do that. So I hope we either figure out the 911 EMA deal or the supervisors just take control and get a radio system going, because it's been played out for 1.5 years and we're no closer than we was. Thank you.
I obviously believe that our emergency personnel are in danger at this point. It's no fault of, per se, any particular person other than our government. And what happened is the FCC came in and they took our band that was on, and this is an exaggeration, like a 3-foot swath. And because they needed more frequencies, they narrow banded that. So they cut that 3-foot down to like 6 inches. So now, when our first responders are out there trying to respond to fires, ambulances, accidents, whatever, they are unable to talk to the 911 center. Now, I understand that the cost is a major issue here, but I want to ask each and every one in this room, if you have a loved one laying alongside the road that needs help, who is dying, will any of you say at that point, I'm glad we only got a $2.5 million system? I think not. Now, I don't agree with spending $8 million either. But the county hired a consultant to go around and decide where we needed the towers, what we needed to help boost the signals. And the EMA and 911, that's a completely separate issue from what the radio system is. We need a radio system and we need to move forward with it. We're endangering the lives of everyone who lives in this county and everyone that passes through this county.
I think it's obvious something needs to be done very quickly. It's a little frustrating right now that we we are trying to decide the inner workings of the EMA and the 911 and the county supervisors. It seems like that's delaying the progress. I think that's frustrating to a lot of people. Like Paul said, you can't put a price on a life. I know, I've seen it firsthand. I'm not going to pretend to know everything about EMA and 911. I don't want to be the person that's the expert in all that. We have experts. They're here tonight. Our sheriff, our EMA 911 director. They know what they're doing. They do this job every day. I think we need to trust what they're doing. Yes, we need to have oversight on them. We need to understand what they're doing, why they're doing it. We need to spend taxpayer money responsibly, but we need to get something done soon. Maybe there's some options. Maybe if we build a tower, maybe there's something else we can put on the tower that'll bring some revenue. There's people building towers, putting other GPS systems on them, satellites, what have you. Maybe we need to look into that. We need another bid. One bid's not very good. It's not a good way to do business. I don't understand why we don't know that at this point. I think somebody in leadership would be able to figure that out soon. But that's my take right now. It needs to move forward a lot quicker than it is.
I want to follow up with that. Have you done specific research to figure out what other counties have done, how they've responded, how they've solved this problem? The radio station group that I work with, we have stations in 7 counties, and this is the first county I've heard of that has this problem. There are other counties that have solved the problem. Have you looked at what other counties have done and how they've responded? What kinds of research are you doing to dig deep into this so that maybe there is a need to get up to speed so that you can pull the trigger on the right advice that comes from the sheriff, the emergency management? Are you digging into this? I'm really curious about that. And we'll start with Steve at the end.
I've looked into it quite a bit. There's 2 systems out there. One is Raycom. The other system is the ISTIC system, which is sponsored by the state. The state so piles of money in it. It's a state-owned system. It's run by Motorola. And that's basically the 2 systems. And tonight when you go home, if you bring up the August 6th Des Moines City Council meeting of 2018, it sold me on what system we need. But I'm not in the position just to go buy it today. But when you get home, just Google City Council meeting, August 6, 2018, and it sold it to me. Thank you.
Well, the county conducted, like I said earlier, the county hired a consultant to come in, and he came in and mapped out what we needed, where we needed it, and our current board decided that they didn't like that. So they hired a consultant to check the consultant. He came in with 2 or 3 other minor changes in it, but it all boiled down to the same thing. Both consultants said, we need to do this, we need to put towers here, we need to do this, and repeaters, whatever. Yeah, I understand there's some things that maybe we can do, maybe we can put a repeater on an existing water tower. Anything like that. I don't know, because I wasn't part of that group that got the final information from the consultant. I just know that those things are possible.
It's a little difficult for me to add much to this because I haven't been sitting in those meetings and behind closed doors and what have you about some of the proceedings that have happened. But I do still think that we need to look at numerous scenarios. There are some scenarios where we may get a bid on a tower and some of the equipment. But then I'm told that some of these companies will come in and bid lower, and then years down the road they start raising the price of the radios and they get you somewhere down the line. So again, we have to talk to other counties like that's been mentioned and see what their experience is, what's worked for them. And obviously we have to compare topographically to what our county has. There's differences how the land lays and how far the signal travels and stuff. But I would do all the research necessary when that would come upon me as my responsibility.
The information that I've gathered by going to Eminent meetings and just a couple of supervisors meetings is Motorola, like Steve said, is a state system. And several counties around the state have used that, like there's 6 or 7, don't quote me, but it's maybe 8 are using Raycom. And the ones that are using the state are getting along very fine. So I think to be cheaper, I think they should go that way.
Thank you. Ken, why don't we go to the audience for a question or two?
All right, well, we're open. If somebody has a question that they would like, I'll stand right here. Come on over here, and I'll hold the microphone for you. Please say your name.
My name is Maggie Rand, and I heard the gentleman from the radio group in Marion County ask you specifically if any other counties have been consulted to deal with a problem that we have, similar to what we have, and what they have done to fix it, and I didn't hear any of you give an answer to that.
There's a lot of counties that's already addressed this. I don't know what percentage of them, but a lot of them go with the state system because the state's putting in a lot of the infrastructure. Every other county across Iowa gets a tower from the state, from north to south, from east to west. Just like this Mahaska County got skipped from both directions. But the Highway Patrol used that system. They're putting it in. The state has dumped millions and millions of dollars already into that system, and infrastructure and different things. And we never got a bid back from Motorola, so we can't even tell if it's an option for us or not. But I know, I told you, August 6th, Des Moines City Council voted to go with Motorola at $12 million. And they had a bid from them and Raycom. Raycom was in at $6 or $7 million. There's a couple people on there spoke, and the city council went with Motorola because of what them people said. So that's what I'm telling you is go home and Google Des Moines City Council, and you can get your information from what I'm talking about. It's there. They got it just. It's a video. You watch it. It's in about the middle of the council. Probably don't want to watch the whole council meeting, but it's in there, and you can learn a lot by watching it. That answer your question, ma'am? I guess I don't understand what your question is.
Marion County.
Yep,
they had that in.
Marion County they've kind of done logistics of 2 systems. Basically, they went with Motorola, but they're using Raycom radios. That's Jason Sandholt. He's the sheriff over there. He's the one that's overseeing all that. And he's come and talked to us about it. But he's got kind of a different system than other people do, so. Yeah, we are looking at doing that, but we just wanted 2 bids back to get the best value for the citizens of Mahaska County, and so far we've only got 1 bid. So we would really like to know why Motorola didn't bid, but I can't answer that because I'm not on that committee. So.
Would anybody else like to follow up?
The only thing I would add is that I did spend some time with Jamie a few weeks ago, and I sat down with him, and I know Jamie's Robinson, our director, has done some research on this, and he's talked to other counties, and he knows some of the people in the business and what works and what hasn't. So I don't remember specifically the information, what counties he's talked to, but I know there's information out there, and we do have some information, I think, on what's working and what some of the pitfalls might be and what some of the watch-outs are. So I think that information's out there. Again, I'm not involved behind the scenes like some of these people are that are on the board right now and didn't think about it, but that's my understanding at this point.
Just one thing I'd like to add to that. The fact is that I don't think it makes any difference whether you go with Raycom or you go with Motorola. It doesn't matter to our first responders. What matters to them is that we get a system up and working. And that's what matters. Everybody's looking at the cost of it. I understand that. But we need something that works. works. It's just that plain and simple.
Another question from the audience, Ken?
If we have people that would like to ask questions, please come here and I'll get you the microphone.
Thank you. You guys have been trying to skip around this a little bit, but what is it going to take to pull the trigger on this system, one or the other of them, and be able to get those radios and towers to help the law enforcement, the EMS, all this messing around and trying to figure out this and trying to figure out that? We've got to have a system. What's it going to take to pull the trigger?
I believe one of the biggest obstacles at this point is the fact that our current Board of Supervisors are in this tussle with the EMA 911 Commission stating that it was formed illegally. And for that reason, they filed suit, and now they're slowing things down from moving on. You know, it's going to be a court battle, and I think it's absolutely ridiculous that we're spending the money and the time, resources on this. We need to get the system up and running. They can argue the logistics of whether or not it was the two combined on a 2080 agreement, legally or illegally, but this system really needs to get moving forward.
I'll echo what Paul said. I'm ready to pull the trigger on something very quickly once I have that opportunity. But right now, like we said, it's in the battle of the court, and there's, you know, again, I don't know the inner workings of it. I don't know what's all going on behind the scenes. I assume the people that are involved think they have some validity why there needs to be a lawsuit, but I think it seems not responsible taxpayer money to be handling business that way, where we're suing another agency in our county and taxing the resources, not only our county, but that board, and again, stalling what could maybe prevent a tragedy in the near future. Something needs to happen soon, and that would be one of the high priorities on my list.
I agree to an extent, but the current Board of Supervisors have made a decision to try and find out who is really responsible for this. And as soon as that is done, I think we can get right on it and get going.
I agree with that. Sooner the better. We just got to get the legal stuff out of the way so we don't have more legal stuff down the road. That's where we're kind of at.
Mike. So, do we have any other questions from out here? Everybody's been pretty vocal one way or the other, so.
How do you propose that it gets paid for? Per capita or property tax on the tower, on the towers? How do you propose that it gets paid for?
Are we live? Okay.
My question is, how do you propose that we pay for the communication towers? Is it per person, or is it property tax? What is the county's plan for that?
Typically, what's going on up until this lawsuit, whether they're the EMA or the 911 combined, the situation was that once they combined, it all fell under EMA. The EMA is considered, and this is one of the arguments in this lawsuit, considered an entity of their own, which means they have the availability to levy tax. And that's part of the argument here, is they're saying, no, you can't do that. But it would be through a tax situation is how it's paid for. It wouldn't be paid for all in 1 year. Does that answer you?
Yeah, you have to be on property tax or a per head basis. But I suspect it would be a property tax and have to be bonded, probably be a 10-year ban or something. I don't know, depending how much bid come in at.
Right now, I think the way it's set up, it will be on property tax. Before, 2 years ago, it was on per capita, where the cities paid so much, and the rural paid so much, and it was on a per capita basis. Now it got changed over to property tax, so property tax will have to pay for it. And the consultants I talked to tell me that this radio system is very expensive, but it's nothing to the maintenance of it. So it's going to have some way to maintenance it too, because they said figure whatever you spend, you better figure 10% a year for maintenance. So you guys can do the math on a $5 million system, what it's going to cost per year just to maintain it. So there's some things that need to be figured out. Some guys are coming up with formulas where they do it per capita and property tax, which seems more fair to me than just on straight property tax. It's going to have to be bonded because it's several $1 million and it'll be on for several years.
So then the question for each of you, how would you prefer it get paid for? You have to pick one or the other.
Well, absolutely, the ideal way obviously would be through some sort of a tax, whether it be a 1-cent tax or something that the county does. I'm not sure that that would have generated enough. That is how we funded the law center to begin with. And we funded the law center and the library under the same sales tax with a sunset clause. I think it was in a 3-year, 4-year period that the law center ended up paying off ahead of time. But part of that was because we did out-of-county holding and took in $275,000 to $325,000 a year, which we put towards the payoff of the lawsuit. So again, even a 1-cent sales tax, something along that way, everybody, every time somebody goes in, buys a piece of candy, a bottle of pop, whatever, everybody's paying, not just the property owners. That would be the ideal way. Now, whether or not that can happen, I don't know.
I don't remember the exact formula, but I was at the meeting recently that was brought up, and I thought that was the most fair method. Again, it'd be too dangerous for me to restate the formula, but I think that's a fair way. What you run into if you do it per capita is you talk about people in the city and people in the county and who's using the service more, and then you got to figure in the travel, how far they're traveling, and there's just you just can't do it fair that way. I think it's just really difficult to make it fair. Someone's always going to have an argument. So I think the formula is in place in some other areas, and a lot of research has been done. You're talking about finding counties doing other things. I think it's working well in other places, and I would be in favor of that.
Well, I would probably more in favor of the per capita, and then a property tax as the second choice. The 1-cent sales tax would be a great idea if we had it 2 or 3 years ago before we voted for the roads and the learning center out there. And so that's where I'd be.
Yeah, I'd just like to clarify. So do you have a 1-cent sales tax in place at this time that you voted on? And what is the money being used for now if you have passed that? Or would that be available? Is it time to renew that 1-cent sales tax where you could do a vote on that?
I can't honestly tell you what the 1-cent sales tax is earmarked for at this point. I don't know. I have no idea at this point.
We had a vote on the 1-cent sales tax a couple, 3 years ago, and the first vote was for a rec center, recreation center, and the city passed that vote to build a rec center, and the rural voted it down. So then the rural re-voted, and they put most of their money for the county roads and the environmental learning center out here, where the Mammoth Bones are going to be. They put a portion of it to that. So theirs is pretty well tied up. The city hasn't done much with theirs yet, I don't think, on a rec center, but I don't know where they're at. But to me, it's a little frustrating sitting in the cheap seats, but 3 years ago we heard nothing about a radio system when all this stuff was out there. And now, once the money's been spent or whatever, now we hear that we need a radio system. So I think a little bit on the people that was in charge back then to not bring this up, because I knew nothing about a radio system 3 years ago. Thank you.
Like Steve Parker said, there was a vote a couple years ago, and the 1% sales tax passed. 80% goes to roads, 20% goes to the Environmental Learning Center until it's paid off. I asked someone what the balance or what's the actual money going in. I think it's about 900,000 or so to the roads and 160,000. You got to play with the math or a little bit, get the 80-20, but that's how it's shaking out right now. It's a significant deal for the roads. It's significant for the Learning Center, but when the Learning Center is paid off, then all the money goes to roads.
Well, those that are interested in asking a question, take the line over here, and then we'll let Dr. Bob and Diane continue with their line of questioning.
That's fine. I'm John Huggins. I live over here in town. I'm going to change topics a little bit, but in the future, I'm not talking past, in the future, if there comes to a time for eminent domain, when would you use eminent domain, and is there a proper use for it in the future?
I think the law's pretty clear on that, and it's for the betterment of everyone. It's not specifically for one targeted, not specifically for one targeted project. That project, the way I understand, has to be for the good of everyone, not just a particular person or company, that sort of thing. And quite frankly, you know, it's not that I'm a fan of it, but I'm not sure we can move ahead ever without it.
I think eminent domain is obviously in place. It's a state issue. As county supervisors, we can't have a say in whether eminent domain is a good thing or a bad thing. That's determined at a different level. Again, like's been said, it's a last resort thing. It was used years ago when interstates were built. It's used today for highways often. It's very seldom used, but it is there in the instance it needs to be. And again, it's not a favorable thing. It's not a fun thing to get to that point, but again, it's the last resort. If something has to be done that can better an area, and they just can't negotiate and come to terms on the value of that property.
Well, I'm totally opposed to eminent domain, except it's like roads and stuff like that. If we're going to have property rights, we cannot allow eminent domain to take somebody's property just for a certain project. That project's got to benefit more than a few people. Highway, zillions of people on the highway. And other projects just to help a few. So I'm totally opposed to eminent domain.
Yeah, I about have to agree with Steve Parker. The project should be for public good, and it should benefit everybody. And roads, you gotta have eminent domain, and you never build a road. And we need roads. We need infrastructure. That's what makes our communities grow. So that's about the only time is roads, is what I would say. And I guess the pipeline used it too. So I wasn't against the pipeline, but I know some of the people were. So but roads definitely.
Who decides when the majority is in interest or it's not in everybody's interest? Do you guys make that decision that it's in everybody's interest? Or how do we decide it's in everybody's interest? I guess is there some way to make that cutoff? Because this helps everybody. Others say, well, it only helps a few. How do we make that decision that everybody's helped?
I can't say for sure, but I think ultimately the state of Iowa makes that decision. It says, yes, you can go ahead with it.
I want to follow up a little bit. You touched on the E911 and the EMA. relationship. And my understanding, and I'm asking to be educated, I don't know the answer to this, so, and I don't expect everybody to answer it, but if you can, help me out here. It seems to me, and from the people that I've spoken with, is dispatch, we've got some great dispatchers here, and dispatch is working well, and I listen to the scanner and I hear them, and they're working hard. It seems to be working, yet the Board of Supervisors decided to sue, is that correct? Decided to sue to say that the E911 and EMA 28E agreement isn't valid, and I don't understand, and educate me, if the county isn't a part of the 28E agreement, why are lawyers being paid to sue the principals? And so I'm guessing that other people might not know why this is happening as well, so if somebody could quickly deal with that, I don't know if that's possible or not, but from outside it looks like it's not broken. It looks like you're not a party to it. It looks like lawyers are making a lot of money. And can you explain why?
I can't explain why. I can give you a brief description of what I know about it. The situation is this: EMA and the 911 combined in 2015. At that time, our county attorney suggested that we hire an attorney. This attorney happened to be probably, as far as I'm concerned, one of the best attorneys in the state of Iowa. And he was also the county's insurer's attorney. So that if Mahaska County got sued, he would actually be the one representing us. Through the direction of our current county attorney at that time, we decided to hire this guy. We hired him. He put together the whole thing to where the 911 and the EMA combined. It went fairly well, and everybody was happy. Pretty much everybody that was on the 911 board also served on the EMA board. So what it did was it just combined the two, and the same people that were on both boards were still there. They just called it something different. Since then, our current board says that the 2080 agreement isn't binding, that they did it illegally, and they filed a lawsuit. And because of that, they're suing themselves as far as I'm concerned. It's taxpayers' money any way you look at it. I still think that the best thing that could happen was if they'd have sat down from the get-go, before it ever got to this point, and talked face-to-face across the table from each other. There's nothing, and there's no problem in the world that can't be solved by doing that. You may have to give a little, it may not be exactly what you wanted, but it can be worked out.
I agree with Paul. I'm extremely frustrated that the process has happened the way it has. I don't understand why I have the same question you have. All I know is Mr. Grunendijk, Mr. Benwell, and Mr. Wanders voted 3-0 to move forward with that lawsuit. So maybe they have some answers, I'm not sure.
I guess I'm going to follow up early and save us some time here. But if the county is suing it, the Board of Supervisors initiated it, it would seem that the new Board of Supervisors could say, hey, that's enough of that. Let's not do that. Let's save the taxpayer money. Am I wrong? Is that a bad idea? Any thoughts on that? Add that to what I said before.
Yeah, the new Board of Supervisors could do that if they wanted, but the issue is they're not following the Code of Iowa with their funding sources and stuff, the way it's being done. And I've just been in this a little bit. Mr. Grunendijk's been in it since last May. He's tried to work with them to work out a solution, and they haven't even ever came to the table. So if you're not going to follow the Code of Iowa, then what do you really have? That's all I'm going to say. And that's why the lawsuit's going on. So I believe that we need to follow the Code of Iowa.
Anything to add, Steve? Okay. I see we have another question from the audience.
Martin F. I'm going to throw everybody a curveball. I'm not going to ask about the radio system, okay? So you can relax about that one. My question is to each of the candidates. What would your thoughts be about having a board of supervisors be comprised of 5, one from each quarter of the county, and then one at large elected overall, and then installing some sort of a county administrator?
I know that's been discussed at different times. I guess I would think that the best way to approach that, Mark, would be through some sort of a vote from the public and let them make that determination. If you do that, then obviously you're going to have quite a bit more expense when it comes to dealing and running the county. You're going to have a county manager, same as a city manager. That's a full-time position. I don't know in regards to, I just don't think you could do it quite like they do with the city council, where you meet weekly or once a month or whatever. With 5 people, obviously, you're going to have 5 different opinions, or 3 different opinions compared to 2. Yeah, it's basically the way I see it, you're going to end up pretty much the same, only you're going to have a county manager. I'm not opposed to it, but if that's what the people would want, I'd say go for it.
Thanks for the question, Mark. My first thought on that would be I'd like to get my feet a little wet in the job first and understand what goes on. And I think I could answer the question better in a few months or a year or whatever down the road. I think there's some validity in what you're saying. I also agree with Paul. I think at some point the voters should maybe make that decision. It's pretty significant. It does involve taxpayer money, more people making decisions. When you're on a board, it can get a little cumbersome at times when you get too many people. If you have 3 people, you may have 3 opinions. You have 5, you may have 5, you have 7. You start to cross the threshold where you can get too many ideas and it's hard to get anything done. I don't know what the right number is yet, but I think it's worth looking into. I think it's worth exploring, investigating. It certainly maybe could work in some situations. I'd be interested in at least being open to it at this point.
Well, I'd be against the 5-member board. I'm definitely against a county administrator. Unless I got the board and see us too much work for 3, maybe I'd like to think about a 5, but I do not see us getting an administrator.
Whether it's a 3 or 5-member board, I don't think it's going to change a lot. One nice thing about having a board of supervisors instead of an administrator, any of you people can come in and talk to me in my office anytime you want, or let me know. The number's on the door if I'm not in there and I'm making a point to meet with you. Once you have an administrator, he just runs the county. You have no say. It's just, I like the idea that the people come in and talk to you. You don't always agree with each other, but at least they got that opportunity to come in and speak.
Yeah, I'll ask January 1 of 2019, what do you think the first priority should be for the Board of Supervisors as they begin the new year?
Obviously, that's the time of year when budgets are coming out. I think the first priority the Board of Supervisors is supposed to do is review the budgets of each of the county offices. They will determine what kind of percentage they're going up, and whether or not they need everything that they're asking for. At that point, then they move on and pass the budgets or deny them, whichever. But I think that's probably the first priority in January.
Typically, I think the budgeting process begins late in the fall and it's approved around the middle of March. So definitely the budgeting process is a critical time beginning of the year. And January 1 of 19, hopefully, if I'm elected, I'm moving forward with the EMA and we're getting a radio system. I think that's a priority. We've talked about it a lot. So those 2 things are key.
Paul said, budget, that's the time the budgets are being put together. Supervisors meet with the head of departments and stuff and get things ironed out. And also you can start looking at the current budget and see how we're doing and see if we have any corrections in spending.
Yeah, basically it's a budget, and hopefully we don't have to raise the county levy.
Ken, do you have anybody?
I'm headed this way. Does anybody have a question over on this side? All right, please state your name.
I'm Margaret Rackliffe, and I'm here as a representative of the North Mahaska School Board. Angela was ill tonight, or she would have been here. The current Board of Supervisors recently passed an urban renewal plan, which tipped the revenue from the wind turbines and allocated it to, I understand, to the roads, which seems to be a focus of, where any additional funds go to. So my understanding is that now, since it's been voted in, it would have to be amended. So my question for each of you is, what would your willingness be to amend that urban renewal plan to share 50-50 in the revenue with the North Mahaska schools?
I think what you're referring to is the TIF money from the windmills around. And yeah, it's my understanding that the Board of Supervisors did allocate the entire amount to the general fund. I'm not sure why they weren't willing to at least listen to a percentage. The windmills in the northern part of the county are pretty much all in North Mahaska School District. And all of those people up there support the North Mahaska School District. I think it's only fair that that's where the money's being generated from, and that they should reap some benefit for that. Now, what percentage? I don't know the 50%. I don't know that that's the correct number. But yes, I truly do believe that they should reap something from it. No, I'm not opposed to changing it.
I think this is a pretty significant issue moving forward. It's my understanding there are about 88 windmills in that area of a significant valuation over $3 million. So it's a significant amount of money that will be coming into our county in the future now. It's a step-up process. It happens 5% a year, so it's going to take several years. It's going to happen over 20 years. It's not uncommon when something like this happens that a county will TIF it and use it for roads. It's more common that they will use it for other community improvement projects. It's maybe a little rare that it's used as significant for roads as it is in our county. And we need roads, we need better roads, we need money there. I don't think anyone will argue that. But also, we need to educate our youth. They need to have good facilities to go to school in. We need our youth to return back to our county, be future taxpayers, be contributors to society. I was at the meeting that the discussion was brought up. I left there slightly disturbed, if not more. I just have a heart for kids, I guess, and I felt like maybe the kids weren't being heard. I think there's still opportunity yet that changes will be made, can be made. I would be in favor of at least a portion of that money going to the kids and improving the school. Oskaloosa isn't the only school in town. North Mahaska is a great school. My son went there for a welding academy for 1 year now, and then he went back to Oski. They're teaching these kids trade skills, welding, whatever. There's electricians are going to be paid like attorneys and doctors soon because we just don't have enough kids working with their hands. So, part of our job as a supervisor is to prepare this county for the future, the next 20 years. It's not about us anymore. We're getting past the place where it's about us. It's about our kids and our grandkids and kids that aren't even born yet, trying to make things as best possible for them.
Well, I'm not very well versed on this subject, but I don't know what kind of arrangements the supervisor did with the original deal. Did they consult you at all? I have no idea.
There was a hearing, and we were allowed to go and share our thoughts, and we wanted it to be a win-win thing for both. Economic development, like Scott just said, involves jobs, and we're trying to train kids for those jobs. They've teamed up with the Oskaloosa schools to do the welding academy. That's economic development, is providing a workforce for our companies that need these workers. So when economic development is only defined as improvements to roads so that the farms, you know, and I'm a farm girl. I mean, I drive those country roads every day, so I love our road grader man. But anyway, it was all gonna go to roads. And there's more to economic development than roads. And so we were just hoping that we could partner with them and share in it.
Okay. Does this money go into the general fund, or does it go into the schoolhouse levy, or the, what?
I thought it went to rural basic.
Pardon?
Willie? First, Willie, I thought it went to the rural basic, which is for roads.
No, I thought what you want to use it for.
What do we want to use it for?
But go to general fund, or does it go to the?
We want to go to the general fund so that it can go in with the normal flow of the tax levy increases.
Well, I have an opinion right now, and I have to look into it a little more and see, but that's where I stand right now.
Do you want to go without here?
Mr. Parker, could you please explain that opinion a little more? Could you please explain that opinion a little bit more for us?
Well, I need more information to see what was going on, how it did. I don't know what the supervisors, they attempted, what the parameters were. I need more information about that.
Okay. Right now it's to go 100% to roads. And so our question is, now it has to be amended because that plan was voted in place. And so now our only option is to get an amendment to the plan that was voted into place. And so what we want to know is, would you be willing to amend that plan in order to share some of the revenue with the school system?
I'd look at it, but
Okay.
I've heard, I don't know nothing about it.
Okay.
Maybe I can shed a little light on it. What a TIF is they put a value on these windmills. And we can come in as supervisors and TIF that money, and the only thing we can use it for is roads. We can't give it to schools, we can't give it anywhere else. The only thing it can be used for is roads. But me as a supervisor, do not want to go in and tip that value of them windmills 100%, because you got to pay that money back. What needs to happen is, and what it is to me, is just in a toolbox that down the road, and we'll decide this like December 1st of every year, whether we're going to use any of that tip money or not. So if we have a major bridge over a river or something, or a major disaster, that we need that money to fix a bridge or a serious road problem. Otherwise, to me, it's really foolish to tip them windmills. Just let it all go to the general fund like it is. The values of the windmills will go into the county general fund, and we will pay for our sheriff and all of our services, the jail, all that out of our general fund. The school will get their part out of the school fund, just like everybody else. But once you tip it, you take that money out of play. That's, I think, what maybe she's talking about.
It is, because that's what was voted in. That's what that urban renewal plan does, is it tips those funds.
What it does, it gives us the ability to tip, but we won't decide until December 1st whether we're going to tip any of it or some of it or whatever. We didn't tip it all. I mean, it's tipped, but we haven't used the money. Until we have a project we need to use the money on, it will be there. Willie's been at this a lot longer. Maybe him or Mark want to speak. They've been at it a lot longer than I have. But that's the way I understand the process. I hope I made it plain and clear. But
Let me say something real quick here. If whoever started answering the question first, the next person to their left should go first the next time. Let's just keep this rotation going, please. Please proceed.
We have Mr. Willie Van Golden.
Point of clarification on the TIF. Our TIF plan calls for TIFing up to $20 million. Those windmills will generate over a period of 20 years over $30 million. So at this point, we are not TIFing at 100%. We met with Angela Livesey this morning. We discussed this. We have to go forward with the plan as it is, but that plan can be amended every year if you have to. It can be amended to include the North Mahaska School. Not include them in the plan, but we can leave money, we can leave valuation there for them to tax.
Okay, and that's, sorry, I held your hand way too much tonight, Ken. And it does, that makes sense. And my question to you was, would you be willing to amend it to help share the funds? And it sounds to me like if you have that information that you'd be willing to.
Amendment to be done because every December 1st, the supervisor will decide if you want to use 10% of it, 20% of it, 30% of it, 50% or 100%. The only thing we're allowed to by state to use it for is roads. We're not even allowed to use it for communication systems. We're not allowed to use it for, the only thing that state allows you to use it for is roads. The only thing this is a tool in the toolbox. We may decide to use 30% one December. We may decide to use 0% the following year.
I'm just putting our name in the hat that we would appreciate a little bit of it.
Well,
And so that's, yeah, we just want it to be, okay.
So right now, there's 0%.
Here's what it needs to be. Okay.
There's 0% county TIF right now, and there's 0% TIF until supervisors take action by December 1st. And that has to be done by December 1st. So if you take 30% of it, all the other taxing authorities realize they have 70% of that value left over to use for their levies. And so we talked to Angela this morning about it. She understands where we're at. And so.
But she also has to do something.
All right. Well, I'm going to call this, and then we're going to see what knowledge these guys have. So.
One other thing, you've got 84 really tall towers up there. If somebody can figure out how to put radios on them, radio repeaters, we could maybe figure something out there. They're beautiful towers.
All righty.
Okay, next question. I presume that everybody in this room, their hearts go out to the people that may well lose their farms to eminent domain with respect to the regional airport. And my understanding is that that 28E agreement is continuing to be challenged. At the beginning of the development of the plan of the regional airport, Mahaska County was $0 obligated because of lawsuits and potentially lost opportunities. By the time this all plays itself out with respect to challenging the 28E agreement, the county could be down over $1 million, maybe millions of dollars, is my understanding. If elected, would you continue to challenge the 28E agreement, or would you decide to cut your losses and not burden the taxpayers with those additional costs? And I think we begin with Scott.
This is my first forum, so I think the issue was brought up extensively in the first forum. So first of all, I probably need to give a little background about myself on this. I'm not opposed to the airport. At the same time, I don't think you'll see me knocking on doors trying to convince people we need the airport. I think there's some validity to it in the future. I think it has potential. Do we need it today? I'm not sure. But again, talking about youth and things going forward, I think there's potential down the road that could be a good thing in our county. I'm not in favor of spending more tax dollars to fight it. I've been told that numerous times. That's not necessarily my personal opinion. It's what the taxpayers are telling me. They're tired of spending county money fighting it. It's not up to the current it's not up to the potential supervisors coming in about whether it's going to happen or not. It's in the courts. It's being challenged. Just recently, it's been thrown back to the local supervisors to clean up some language with the cities. The cities could sue us, I understand, for some time delays. I don't think they'll do that. It's out there, they can do it. I don't think that's going to help relationships. I don't think they want to do that. They do want to move forward. I respect the landowners. I've met with them. I've met with landowners that are willing to sell, some that aren't. I've talked to some people on the airport commission. I've tried to see both sides of this. Again, but at this point, I'm not willing to spend more money fighting it. And I think it's in the hands of the court what they decide regarding the 2080 agreement.
On the airport issue, I would keep fighting it. You can't convince me. I've tried to listen to the argument on the side. I just cannot see why you can't go to Atumwa, Knoxville, or Newton. You've got Knoxville pouring a boatload of money in their airport, so how far is that from Pella to Knoxville? Not very far. And also you can go down to Tacoma Airport and help them airports out. They can be more self-sufficient maybe and help everybody out. I just cannot see taking land from somebody to build an airport that's not needed.
I agree a little bit with Steve on the part that it's not needed because we have major airports around within 30 minutes of our town. My biggest grief about this, besides eminent domain, is the 220th Street. It's a major farm-to-market road. And they were going to build an airport in Marion County by Otley. I got the plans in my book here. They were going to build a road up there for almost $2 million around the airport. When they come to Mahaska County, they're going to close the road. They're not going to relocate the road. The 28E says they will relocate the road. So they're not doing their part of the 28E agreement. And the third part of the 28E agreement is we write 28E agreements all the time and they always have an out. This one has no out. And I talked to lots of lawyers that say 28E agreements have to have an out. So that's one reason we took it to the Supreme Court to find out how valid and how good this 28E is. And going forward, when we're writing 28Es, what we can and cannot do. So that's the reason that I voted to take it to the Supreme Court. Thank you.
Okay, I don't think your question was whether or not we agree or disagree with the airport need. I think the question was, do we continue spending money in regards to a lawsuit that is pending now? No, I don't think we need to. The situation is this. It was ruled on by the lower courts. The lower courts, very seldom we see something overturned by them. They look at the validity, they look at the whole thing, and they have a pretty good idea what's going on. Now, it's not whether I agree or disagree with the need of the airport. It's the fact that we're involved with this. We have to move on one way or the other. If the court says, nope, it's not valid, okay, I'll accept that. But if they say it is, then okay, I'll accept that also. I don't agree with continuing spending money on lawsuits that get nowhere.
Thank you.
Okay, this question was submitted for Steve Wanders. In 2016, you were a vocal opponent of the first local option sales tax proposal and arguably one of the leaders of the opposition. At that time, you stated that rural residents needed the money for roads. Since then, another vote of incorporated residents dedicated a substantial amount of unincorporated lost monies to roads. What major road projects is the county planning with their new road monies? And will the county be able to catch up on road repairs?
A lot of the money that we got from the 1 cent sales tax is going into the highway from the Skunk River to the Lacey Road. That road's costing us a little bit over $1 million a mile delay. And the 1 cent sales tax don't go far enough. In Mahaska County, we have, I think, 123 tag bridges that mean they have weight limits on them. The last bridge we built by light was $800,000. So $1 million goes hardly anywhere. And our road problem has been a long time coming, and it's going to last for a long time. It would cost about 15 to 18 million, according to the engineer, just to put gravel on every mile of our roads, one time. So it's a big expense, but if you don't start somewhere, you're going to end up with nothing. And I don't know if I answered your question exactly, but that's a major project we've been doing. But we got 3 or 4, we got a highway just south of Tana. They closed, they maybe open back up, and it's coming apart. The engineer said close it. And the reason it is because they brought in the pipeline and the windmills, all on that road. And these other roads, and we got G71 down here by Dead Man's Corner, the one that goes from I say Idville to Bussy. It's got to be reworked. We got a lot more projects than the 1 cent sales tax even going to come close to. So we're just trying to band-aid together what we can and spend what we can and put in new roads when we can. But it's just like everything else. There's never enough money. So.
Will you be able to use that money for bridges, or will it just be roads?
No, you can use it for bridges or whatever we want. So.
Does anyone else have a question about secondary roads? And the 1 cent sales tax? Thank you, Steve.
Any more questions from the audience? Up here, Ken.
We have one over here.
My name is Mary Rand, and the question that I have is, there's all these signs when you drive to Pella, and I suppose there's someplace else, crying about the airport. But where was the crying about when they put an oil pipeline underneath our farm ground? And the way those things leak, it's going to be a bigger deal than anything the airport is going to do. So what do you guys, I mean, why weren't the citizens consulted much about that?
I believe it's Steve Parker, your turn. The question is about, it's a concern about oil pipelines going underneath farm fields and that. Is the pipeline and pipelines in general a concern? Is it an environmental concern for you in general?
No, it's not a general concern. I think it's probably a safer and cleaner way to move oil long distance in a truck or on a train, so no.
We got pipelines all over Iowa. I don't know how many millions of miles of pipelines we have, but they've been putting them in for years. Going through the farmers I talked to on the pipeline, yeah, some of them didn't really like it, but none of them was really boisterous about it. But one thing about a pipeline, to lay it under the ground and you farm over the top of it, you still get a farm your ground. They don't take your ground until it leaks. But we just had a train in somewhere, I think Northern Iowa, 100 cars went in the river, so they leak too. I mean, it's just, to me, a pipeline is safer than transporting it on our highways. To me, so that's my opinion. I have no way to tell, but I know there's one from Bussy to Tracy. There's 4 or 5 that come just north of my house. I don't know, 3 miles they put in the 70s, I think. A lot of these big businesses and stuff have pipelines running. The city lays pipelines all over the ground to everybody's house to get LP gas. There's pipelines everywhere under the ground. Because they had no way to move the oil out of the Balkan fields down to the refineries in Texas. There was no pipelines that was capable of doing that, I understand. You know, I'm not arguing the pipeline is good or bad, but the farmers I've talked to, most of them wasn't too concerned about it. It's just an inconvenience. It ain't like when they just come take your stuff and lay cement on it and let somebody else farm it. That's a serious problem. So, that's my point on that one. So, thank you.
I'm not sure I can add a whole lot more to that other than the fact that I do know over the years I've learned that when you have a problem, it's a major problem to you, but it's not to this person over here. What you were saying is, basically, I think, is why are people so concerned about the airport and no one was concerned about the pipeline? Ma'am, I can't answer that. I can't tell you why that is. That's just human nature. Right or wrong, that's the way it is. But the difference between the eminent domain with the airport and with the pipeline is, one is that they're not actually taking your land. They're crossing your land. You asked how many pipelines are in Mahaska County. I'm going to say somewhere between 6 and 12. I don't know the exact number, but I do know that there's quite a few pipelines in Mahaska County and crossing it.
I have a pipeline that runs through my farm, and it doesn't scare me at all. I'm comfortable with it. Is there risk? Yeah, there's risk, but I think there's less risk with a pipeline under the ground than there is a truck on the road or a train. I don't know that it was really a county level issue. There were protesters in town. You can ask the sheriff's office. I mean, they were dealing with them. There are many protesters. There are still protesters today. Basically, it was handled at the state level. Again, the landowners were compensated. Yes, some were more concerned about it, but in the end, I think they all came to a fair agreement and they're comfortable with it now. And they've been treated fair. I know some of them personally. If they have a problem, if tile needs to be moved, they're right out there, they're on it. These people are good. They do this work every day. They travel across the United States. They're professionals at what they do. If you're welding on the pipeline, you're one of the best welders in the nation. So I guess at some point we have to trust these people that they're doing a good job. And again, I think it's safer than some of the other methods of transport.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the audience?
I think this will probably be our last call, so if you got something itching to ask, come see me.
Yes, this is very important. This is your opportunity to ask the questions to help you decide who's going to help shape the future of your county. If you've got one, please come forward.
My name is Terry Ward, and my question is to any one of you, how many confined animal feeding operations are there in Mahaska County? And how does that have to do with the roads?
I understood the first part of the question. I didn't hear that last one. But how many hog confinement facilities are in Mahaska County?
Turkey or chicken too?
Turkey and chicken too. How many animal livestock operations, confinements are across the county? Do you have any idea? And I presume there's a reason behind the question.
He was asking how those impact the roads.
Oh, how do those impact the roads?
Obviously, they do have some impact on the roads. And that, you know, those I think are probably considered, most of those are some sort of corporate type situation. It's not what we consider the average farmer to be hauling. And I can't tell you what the impact is exactly. You know, obviously it's going to have some. I do know that whether it's a corporate sponsored type activity or just a general farm to market, the roads that we have today, especially our gravel roads and our bridges, were not meant for 80,000-pound vehicles running up and down them. Dozens and dozens and dozens of times a day past my house alone. It's just not, the county can't put enough gravel on there to keep up. It's just not possible. And I don't have any real answer for those things other than, you know, if they did an embargo that was on the gravel road straight to the first paved road that you can get to and exit. Cut down the traffic on the gravel roads, but then again, you know what, that's what we're here for, that's what we pay taxes for. So that's going to be a little difficult to do.
I don't know how many confinements there are, but it's a significant part of our local economy. It provides a lot of jobs, not only construction, but people working in the feed mills, people selling the feed, people doing maintenance on the buildings, agricultural involvement with operators, hauling the fertilizer on the fields and all that kind of thing. In Mahaska County, we got 126 miles of paved roads, about 813 miles of gravel roads. We got 223 bridges Steve talked about. Over half those bridges are tagged with a weight limit because they're not safe to be over with full loads. Yeah, it's obvious that heavier weights are doing damage to the roads, but one thing that doesn't get brought up often is I'm glad that things are traveling on our roads, that we have feed trucks on our roads, that we have grain trucks, that we have farm equipment, that we have soccer moms bringing their kids to activities, that we have a lot of good things going on, and the roads are active, and it's a good thing they need repair because things are happening in this county and they need to continue to happen. So, yeah, we need to look at taking care of those roads. Is there a better way to proportion the tax? I'm not sure. I think there's maybe some ways in the future to tie it to use a little bit more. You can argue this clear to a national level about paying income tax and what's fair and what's right. But again, I think we have to be a little satisfied and content that our roads are active and that there is economic commerce going on at a pretty good level in our county. We want to keep that, and also we want to grow it. So that's my answer.
Well, definitely these operations are hard on the road, but the roads are in bad shape in the wintertime, and sometimes the hogs have to get out. They got to have feeds, they have to go. A lot of times they tear the roads up, and it's that way the whole rest of the winter. But if you're going to have that out there, we're going to have to keep the roads up for the operations.
Agribusiness is very important to Mahaska County. There's a lot of jobs tied to ag and agribusiness that people don't even realize. But you know, when we sell our corn to Cargill employs a lot of people. They pay a lot of tax dollars in our county or in the next county, too bad it's right across the line. But we need roads to get that better because they give us a date to deliver. You have to deliver. Because they decide when you're going to bring your grain. They'll give you a 3-day or a 5-day window or whatever to sell, and that's when you got to get there. So we need good roads to get there. And agribusiness is good for the county. I know if you're not in it, it don't seem like it, but we got new home buildings, we got cattle setups, we got different things going on all the time. And like I said, my daughter works at one of them. She gets paid well to take care of pigs. It ain't my dream, but it's hers, and she likes it. So, I mean, there's job opportunities out there, and it's just all part of what makes the world go around. Thank you.
Yeah, I just have a quick question, and I guess Steve, you'll answer it as a current board member. Just curious, a lot of surrounding counties do a master matrix when there's a new confinement being built. Have you ever considered doing the master matrix to get more information about confinements as they come into your county?
I'm pretty sure our county has master treatment. No, we don't. A lot of, I guess I don't know. I've just been in 2 months, so I'm kind of new at it. But I know a lot of guys use what they call the coalition. It's sponsored by the Iowa Farm Bureau and some other farm organizations. They kind of come in and try to tell you how to place these buildings, what setbacks you got from neighbors, where to plant trees. Now they're even coming out with electric fences that they blow the air through to neutralize the odor and the dust. I mean, technology is huge out there, but you have setbacks. You just can't build a building wherever you want. You have to build it where, you know, there's rules and regulations, and most times you just can't keep up on all of them as an individual, so you just call in somebody like the coalition that can tell you your setbacks and different things. And I know as trustees, sometimes they have to decide, you know, whether they'll let them build a whole building because they don't have the setbacks and stuff. So I don't know if that answers your question or not.
Would anybody else like to address that? Okay, anything else from the audience?
Come back here if you have a question. This will be your last opportunity.
I'm Alvin Mendling, and I just have a question. I don't know if panel can answer it. I know the last time they raised the gas tax, they raised it because of the bridges in the state, and how much of that is being used to improve bridges in Mahaska County?
I can't even begin to answer that. I have no idea how much of that revenue comes to the counties on the county level. I think the state collects it, and what we get, I have no idea.
I'm not sure the amount either. I think I had it written down somewhere, but I don't want to say it because I'm not sure on it. But I know I talked to one of the supervisors, and that money is coming in. It is being used for roads and bridges, so it's definitely being utilized.
It's my understanding that the 10 cents gas tax was passed a couple of years ago up there. It goes to this formula that was before they passed that. I think it was called some 21. And we got to share some per capita or something. But I'm sure it's going to roads.
Yeah, I don't know, Sherry, I went through the budget process. Once you go through that, you learn all that stuff. You know, in January or December, January, February, so I can't give you a number on that. So.
We have another question back here.
Hi, Catherine Call Goodman. My question is, if you're elected, what part of county government would receive more attention? Maybe an area you feel is not getting it quite enough now.
Real quick with that one. What part of county government would probably get more attention from you than is getting attention now? Is that correct? Whoever's turn is, I don't know whose turn it is. Go ahead.
Just being there 2 months, my major concern with what the county government deals with is mental health. Mental health is a huge issue. And I know our mental health people are working with a region, and they're working with Mahaska County Partnership. And one example, one thing they're doing good is they're bringing the people into the jail instead of bringing the jailers out to the hospital. And that saves a pile of money, and they say it's working real well. But depending on what the state does, I think some of this mental health stuff is going to get dumped back onto the counties, and it's going to be a real issue. Mental health is a deal that it's worse than roads. I mean, you just can't put a price on it. They're doing they call them some kind of housing where they get out and give them a place to live, or they have to find a place for them to live where they can settle for a few weeks or whatever. But mental health is a huge issue, and it's hard to fix. So it's something that, I guess, since Mr. Dole was on a lot of these commissions, I got them all, and I've learned a lot. It's really, really interesting to see how they try to deal with, like, the mental health issues and the drug. A lot of it's just drug and alcohol abuse. And I even met with a bunch of parole officers. What they had to tell me was just impressive what's going on out there. So I guess after being there 2 months, mental health is a bigger deal than I ever imagined. Thank you.
As I said in the past, and I think I'm going to try to answer your question along with a little follow-up on mental health. I don't know that there's any one particular area that's any more important than any other area. But in this particular instance, when he said mental health, that is a huge, huge budget problem. And the state ends up closing a number of mental institutions around the state, which then puts it back in the county's lap. We end up with someone, we have no place to take them. Our sheriff's department is meeting them, coming and going. We've got deputies on the road transporting. It's a horrible deal. Basically, by closing all these institutes, they mandated that all back onto the county. It made their budget look good, but it sure messed with the county's budget. So.
Of the major issues, the roads, mental health, the budget, numerous things like that, I don't think I can say right now that one needs more attention than the other. They're all very important. One thing that I do have a heart for that needs to maybe looked upon and improved in the future is just relationships with people in our county. It seems like there's a lot of broken relationships now. There's a lot of division. I think for us to move forward, we have to start mending those relationships. First, we have to listen to each other. We're not all going to agree. We got to find some middle ground. All of us can give a little to gain together. So that's one thing that's on my heart, and I think that needs to improve.
I don't have any problem with most of the counties, what's going on presently. And mental health, like they say, is a big problem. And that's good.
Okay. Anything else, Ken?
Any other questions? All right. Well, we're going to close the public portion of this.
Okay. I've got just a couple of ones, and they should be real fast. One is I think you can address them. Please address them quickly. I don't think we need to go on and on. But I watched an unsettling video the other day where a county employee came forward with observations, allegations, however you want to put it, about HIPAA violations, access to private information. Something that shouldn't happen. Is this a concern for you? Are you going to do something about it? forget where we start, who started last. Paul?
Okay, obviously it is a concern in this particular instance, and I know very little about the situation other than it appears that maybe someone got locked into a building by accident. It was purely accidental. And what could have happened, who knows, but I don't believe anything came of it. I think what the problem here is that she's concerned, or this individual's concerned, that this never happens again and that we need to address it, and obviously we do. I don't feel it is a major problem, but I think just maybe keeping your wits about you and checking before you lock the door and walk out that there's no one in there, kind of like to your house.
It's important to listen to county employees when they have concerns. I'm glad she brought it up. I imagine that was probably handled in some way. It's a personnel issue, so the supervisors at the time are probably a little bit limited what they could say. They, again, just like HIPAA, they have to be careful. They know some things that probably happened and some proceedings that they took and some measures that they took to avoid it. But again, it is an important deal, and we will listen to our employees, and if they ask us to make improvements, we'll certainly look at it. I mean, we'll go to the spot and look at it and deal with it.
I believe there's, most businesses have to follow HIPAA rule, have a plan in place if there's a breach of the HIPAA, and they can take care of that and follow necessary paperwork and stuff, and that should have been done, I thought, and this lady supervisor should have took care of that, and I don't know how far down the line this goes, so.
I can probably comment on it a little more because I'm involved in it. The allegations were made. They went up the proper chain of command. The Mahaska County hires a firm to do their HR work, human resources work. I got a letter in my folder here from him the other day that said we did it to the T. The supervisor's done exactly what they were supposed to do. And about the files being locked, an hour later they were locked because I told them to screw a padlock on the door. So why it wasn't done before that, but we had an old bank safe that they were in, and the door was open, and I shut it and screwed a padlock on it because I didn't want no little kid to get locked up in it. So everything's good now, and we'll just see what happens from here on out. But it went up the proper chain of command, and I got a letter in here from our HR guy saying we done just what. But the supervisor, I wasn't here for most of this, but they said it was handled the way it was supposed to be handled. So thank you.
Just quickly, in about 30 seconds, why should people vote for you, for supervisor?
Seems like I can mention in 30 seconds. I'm not sure it's possible. Again, I'd like to think that I've got a lot of common sense, and having been in law enforcement in this county for 39 years, I've dealt with a number of you, and if not you personally, your families or your neighbors. I've always tried to be fair and honest. I've tried to do the right thing, and I do believe that in my experience in law enforcement has given me the opportunity to learn how to negotiate, how to sit and talk, listen to everyone, and come up with a solution. And I think that's a big part of being a supervisor, is being able to do those things. And I appreciate your vote. Thank you.
I'm excited about the opportunity to make a difference. I've learned recently that if you're not looking forward, you're not moving forward. I think at times we get caught up putting fires out all the time, and when you're doing that, you get caught up in the day-to-day stuff, and we're not looking ahead and preparing our county for the future. We have a lot of great resources in this town. We have, in this county, we have a lot of great factories. We have a lot of great recreational opportunities. We need to be thankful for that. We need to take care of those resources because hopefully our kids come back and their friends and all that and continue to be taxpayers in the future. I don't want the towns that we live in now just to have Casey's and a grain elevator in them someday, 20 years down the road. I want a lot more than that. Our mission statement is on the website. The last sentence says the services offered by the supervisor will be delivered at an optimum level, maximizing available resources, the resources given to us, and distributed fairly in a manner that instills public confidence in government. I think if you decide to elect me, you'll be confident in the job I'm doing. Thank you.
Well, I think I'm a very honest person. Kind of slow and deliberate. I got to think about things a little bit, but I don't make rash decisions. And I think if you vote for me, you'll be very happy.
I run an agribusiness. I make decisions every day trying to figure out how to best spend my money. I will do the same with you people's money because it's your money. And I think the more money the people keep in their pocket, the more businesses they can support and the more they can do for their community. Just to raise taxes to get what you want or what people think you want, to me is not an answer. I'm very common sense and I'm very conservative. So if that's the kind of government you want, vote for Steve Wanders.
Well, I'm going to start closing this out so we can all go home. I don't think the candidates here would mind doing that, so I would really like to thank you guys for showing up. It's never easy to do what you guys just did tonight. I would also like to thank our moderators for taking the time to come down and be a part of this discussion. Early voting will start October 8th. For those that are interested and like to take advantage of that, it's on October 8th. And I have to have those. And then lastly, please consider this your official invitation to October 23rd. We'll host another supervisor forum here. And that way you guys can finish your discussions and the folks that might have questions as this continues. So October 23rd, 6:30 here at the mall. With that, I hope everybody has a good night, and we thank you for coming.